Well, good afternoon and welcome to the Dynasty Dugout Show. It is the 28th and we are going to talk baseball. It's another good day to be back with you here as we are going to break down another farm system. We've skipped to the NL Central. I know I missed one, or NL West, excuse me. I know I skipped one NL Central team, but I do have a guest coming on to talk the St. Louis Cardinals with me. So we are going to the NL West today to break down the Arizona Diamondbacks farm system. Feel free to follow along by checking out the article on the site. It is linked on Playback. If you are watching on Twitter, on YouTube, if you want to join the chat, go to playback.tv/the Dynasty Dugout and you can interact with us and ask any questions, and I will be happy to answer those. Wanted to run down a couple of things from yesterday's spring training action, which I did find important. Obviously, there's a lot of big things that went on. Casey Mize was dominant. I won't say dominant, but the Arsenal was really, really good. He stepped back in and just looked like he hadn't missed a beat, even though he hadn't pitched in games in nearly years, which is pretty substantial. He came back with the kind of velocity that he did. The ride on the fastball was something that we've never seen before. Considering he had Tommy John and back surgery, like, very impressive stuff that Mize said. I know, I understand. It's a small sample, it's 2 innings. Like with all of these guys, people get upset when I post about prospects' velocity being up, but when they haven't pitched in 2 years or when they are way up further than usual and it's February, I don't care if it's inning or not. Like, that's substantial to see. So, really good for Mize so far. He's gonna have to command the pitches better, but kinda to be expected as he has not thrown in quite some time. So that was kinda to be expected there with him. The splitter looked really good with Mize. Finished the day with 42% whiff and 29% CSW. Chris Sale was another one to note. He came back and his velocity looked really good. It was up 6.5 on the fastball, which is notable. Again, small sample, I get it, but I really like what I saw. He was leading with the slider. I thought Sale was rather impressive. Obviously, health is gonna be the biggest factor with Chris Sale, but if he can stay healthy and give you 140 innings, yeah, I'd be thrilled to roster him in a fantasy league. Brian Hayes has been looking really good all spring. Hit a grand slam yesterday. Got a ton of exit velocities north of 104 miles an hour. 5 of his 6 actually batted balls have gone over 104, which is kinda wild. A lot of ground ball issues still, but not there with that grand slam. So that was really fun to watch and see. Luis Ortiz in that game also was rather good, as you saw him have his velocity back up. I'll be watching that pretty closely with Ortiz. On the flip side, Alek Manoah, not good. Supposedly had been getting in shape all offseason. It didn't really help. I know it was the first start of spring, but the velocity was up, which is notable. Sticks, we'll see. But he had just 3 whiffs on 15 swings, 13% CSW. And here's a fun one, a prospect, Robert Hassel. Is Robert Hassel back? I think it's too soon to say, but he certainly looked really, really good this far. He homered on Tuesday. We know former top prospect, had the hit tool, had the speed. Power was kind of the question. After he was traded for Juan Soto, everything kind of just fell apart, and it left us questioning, who is Robert Hassel? Last year, the exit velocities jumped significantly, 5-hour jump in his average EV. That's huge, and that's something to note. I will note that seeing him in the fall league this year, he looked skinnier. I wonder if after the fall league he put back on weight, because I do think that that is pretty. But if you wanna read that full article, I broke down 20 players from yesterday that stood out in some way, whether it be exit velocities, pitch mix, pitch velocity, etcetera. Go check that out on the site, thedynastydugout.com, and you can get the full report there. Let's get into the Arizona Diamondbacks. They've got a really fun system, and no surprise at the top, we're gonna talk a little Jordan Lawlar. Lawlar selected 6th overall in 2021, and he jumped to being a top 10 prospect rather quickly. He has stayed in that range his entire time as a prospect. He did debut last year, but he did not have enough at bats to graduate. So the thing is that there's talk about him not being with the team out of camp, going to AAA, which I think is pretty interesting considering they brought him up. And now with the prospect promotion incentive, it gives you more of a reason to have those prospects that you got your feet wet. Like Lawler got his feet wet last year. They brought him up. I know the results weren't great, but there is still so much more to like with Lawler. Between Double A and Triple A last year, 278, 378, 496 slash, 20 home runs, 36 stolen bases. Through the first 2 months of the season, though, this is what's notable. First 2 months, 165 average, 299 OBP, 68% contact. And after that, the contact jumped 10 percentage points to 78%. Slash line jumped to 325, 416, 565. So Lawler made major strides after those first 2 months. Contact was there, power was there. I mean, he posted a ninth percentile exit velocity right around MLB average, slightly below at 103. MLB average is like right at 103.5. So, we saw some stuff there that really liked. We'll watch a little bit of Lawler to see a swing here. This is back from Double A, if I'm not mistaken, against the lefty. Easy oppo power. He's got just easy power to all fields. And I know power's not the sticking tool here. Like he's got the hit tool, he's got the speed, he's a good athlete. But watch the swing and watch him just be able to put the ball the opposite way. He didn't try to do too much with anything on the outer half. He hit it where it was pitched. He's got good hands, quick hands at that, pretty good bat speed. So when I look at Lawler, I'm looking at a player that I think could be a consistent 2020 threat. Probably still more than that. He's checking with 70 grade run times in his minor league career, 76 stolen bases, caught just 11 times. So that's notable. I think that if Lawler does start in the minors, probably not going to be down very long. I'd bet that he bounces back up in the majors and gets things going rather quickly. So if you want to invest in Lawler, I think now's a good time because there's been the talk of him not being in the majors to start. And, that's when that happens, typically people get concerned and it presents a buying opportunity. And I think that's what's going to happen here with Jordan Lawler personally. But this next guy I've been asked about a lot this offseason, and maybe I'm still a touch high on it. That is Drew Jones, who has been one of the hardest players to evaluate. Second overall selection, 2022. He's really struggled with injuries and performance in his pro career. He did miss time last year due to a right quad strain and a right hamstring strain. He had that shoulder injury right upon being drafted. So all those things have just kind of piled on Jones. And you have to wonder how much of the performance has been affected by that. I know the performance has not been great at all, but Drew Jones still has the talent and upside. I mean, when you think of Jones, you think of tools. He plays an elite center field. He's got great speed. And really, that's the biggest thing. Like in center field, he's moving so well. He can get to balls that most don't. Frame, 6'4", 180. He just screams projectile power, and he's already shown plenty of raw power in the past and in BP. I think the power probably sits closer to average right now, but has that chance to tick up. The ground ball rate's also a concern, 60%. A lot of that's due to the flat swing. And can his swing handle more advanced pitch? Can he generate enough lift? And I think that's still a question mark because when you look at the swing, I do think there's some concerning aspects about it where it's like, okay, is he going to be able to lift balls, to get the balls even up in the zone? And I think that that's a really fair question still. Whether he figures it out or not, I mean, he's still young, so I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. I'm not, like, all the way out on Drew Jones by any means, but I am more concerned, especially because the contact rates that we saw, sub 70% last year, left a lot to be desired. Injuries may have played a part. Speed's there, love's there, the tool and the power be there. If all clicks though, Jones is a 5-tool player. He does everything so well, but there are some question marks on whether he develops. I'm giving the benefit of a doubt to a 19-year-old. We'll see what happens. Tommy Troy, drafted last summer. Troy, shortstop, second baseman. He does a lot of things well. He's smaller, but he packs a punch. He's hit everywhere he's been. He had an impressive run college last year. He showed really good skills across the board. He did see the power jump. 17 homers last season after hitting just 7 the year before. He mashes fastballs, and there are some swing and miss against breakers, but contact rate was still north of 70% against them, and he posted a 92% contact rate against fastballs. So fastball hitter. Love to see that. He runs well. He still makes good contact. Contact was really good at the pro level. People have kind of questioned, would the power translate with that? But he absolutely performed well at the Cape Cod League with wood, and it showed his ability to hit with a wood bat. So I think Troy fits this system so well in their time. I mean, the Diamondbacks made the World Series last year. They're looking to compete, and I know that it was a crazy run. This is a team that's just entering their prime, and Tommy Troy's gonna be a big part of that. That's one of the reasons I think the Diamondbacks went from last year in the draft, because he fits this timeline so well. He could be ready by midseason this year. I wouldn't be shocked. Very high floor bat, very solid feel to hit, good power, really good speed. I think you're looking like a 15 homer, 20 stolen base bat. It's gonna get on base at a high clip, and it's a very safe profile. I am buying Tommy Troy everywhere. As is this guy who has gotten a lot more fanfare. I know he was on Eric Long, I think it's top 100 on Fangraphs, if I'm not mistaken, and that's Hansel Luis. We signed back in January 2022, 525K bonus, had a really strong debut in the DSL. Then he came stateside this year, and the hit tool was there. Power began to blossom at the complex, and he earned the promotion to single A as an 18-year-old. So that's pretty impressive. He did have 7 home runs between both stops in 62 games, complex and single A. Stole 16 bases on 20 attempts. And he slashed 269, 335, 441. Not all that impressive, but it is worth noting that Luis kind of slumped a bit when he went to single A, where he was really young and level. And that's a quick move. I mean, his approach is really good. He picks the spots well. He knows the strike zone well. He makes good contact ability, has good gap to gap power. And we saw those turn into home runs more this year. There's a chance that continues to take a step forward, becomes a bigger home run hitter. I think the concerns in the profile were exploited a bit more in single A against some better pitching. We saw the chase rate go up, and the contact was less than 70%. That's not even close to who he was in the DSL. But so young, first season stateside. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. We'll see Luis probably start the year back in single A again this year, but I think he continues to develop. A lot of work put in this offseason. I think you're looking at potential plus contact hitter that develops into average game power with above better speed. He's shown that. No reason to think he won't continue to develop. This is a really good talent. I still think that Luis is hair underrated. I think that you can go out and get him for a cheaper price than his actual value may be. So he's a fun profile. He's one of those guys that could really take off. Next guy, Yumin Lin, lefty, smaller lefty at that, 5'11", 160. He absolutely dominated last year until he went to Double A. Now, here is the thing with Yumin Lin. The fastball last year averaged 89 miles an hour. It topped out at 91, 92. When you're throwing at the lower levels, and when you have a changeup as advanced as Yumin Lin's is, you can get away with it. The changeup is by far his best pitch. Firmly plus. 60 grade might be better. But when I look at changeup heavy guys without much else, without a firm fastball to rely on, usually those guys struggle as they move up levels. And that was absolutely the case with Lynn last year as he helped double A. There's some good starts. There's some really rocky starts too. And that was really the first bump in the road he had had as a professional pitcher. He had been dominant pretty much his entire career. So here's the thing though. Lynn pitched on Monday, and Lynn was atrocious on Monday, to say the least. He was not good. He coughed up 5 earned runs in 1 1/3, or not even 1/3, a third of an inning. 5 earned. But apparently the fastball was sitting 92 to 94. And I mentioned it was topping out at 92 last year. That's something to watch. It's early, small sample, but if the fastball does tick up with Lynn, the changeup's really good. I do think that the slider needs to continue to develop. We shall see, but you certainly like a pitcher that's sitting 92 better than 89. He's young, he's smaller. There's a chance, though, that he continues to fill out that frame and add velocity. Maybe we see that. We'll see as the season progresses, ultimately what happens in the season. See his career progress. Is it up to all spring? Is it up during the early part of the season? Then yes, I'll be encouraged. Let's get a couple draftees this year. Jack Hurley, outfielder from Virginia Tech. The question with him was, how much would he hit? There's really flashy tools with Hurley. He's very athletic, handles all pitch types well. He's very aggressive, has some swing and miss. Strong career at VT. Posted a slash line of 321, 411, 603. 37 homers, 18 stolen bases, and 154 career collegiate games. And upon being drafted, 3rd round this past summer, he really hit the ground running. Spent most of his time in high A, slash 293, 341, 415, homer, and 6 stolen bases. The interesting thing is, he only chased 25% of pitches and made contact at a 75% clip. But then step into pro ball, and while the results were good, the contact rate 65%. High chase rate. Somewhat concerning. But the exit velocities, really good. At Virginia Tech with metal bat, 93 mile an hour average EV, 109 mile an hour 90th percentile. Even when they tick down, that's still above average to plus power, at least. 55% hard hit rate, really good. When I look at Jack Hurley, I think this is the power speed profile that you like to bet on. Really good athlete, hit tool, allow it to work. I'm interested to see what Jack Hurley does this year. Full season in pro ball, full off season with the team. I'm looking forward to seeing Jack Hurley. As I am this guy, Gino Groover. Groover was the analytic darling last year in the draft, which led him to be a second-round selection. He began his career at the University of Charlotte, spent 2 years at NC State, where in 114 games at NC State, slashed on a 349, 435, 555 with 24 homers. But you look at the analytics, 92 mile an hour average EV, 108 mile an hour 90th percentile. Both very high end, right around Jack Hurley power. Power didn't show up much in a small sample. And he had just a 394 slug. Small sample, write it off, but the contact skills. 92% contact rate on pitches in zone, chasing at a low 23% rate. While at NC State, that's pretty valuable. And then as a pro, 85% overall contact. That's notable as well. Groover's a high floor bat. I'm curious to see what the EVs are like consistently with the wood bat. I think that'll be pretty telling. But gonna hit for average, gonna get on base. I really like Gino Groover a lot. There's a trend with the Diamondbacks draft last year. A lot of college guys that were analytic darlings. So that's certainly something to watch with him. There's some other things behind the scenes I wonder, like why the power was up in college, but no worries there. We'll see what he progresses like as a pro and what the EVs look like with wood. But again, Groover, still somebody I like. Another arm, Dylan Ray. Ray was a 4th rounder in 2022 out of the University of Alabama. He took a massive step forward last year, excuse me, 2023. 99 innings over 22 starts, 3.81 ERA, 123 strikeouts, and 32 walks. He went to Double A at the end of the year, and the results were not great, but he had 1 start where he allowed 9 earned. That really inflated the season-long ERA, especially that Double A line. So, the results overall were pretty good. Looking at mid-90s fastball, fluctuates start to start, but slider sits near 90, not mid-90s, that would be ridiculous. Sits near 90 miles an hour, and a changeup that I thought progressed very well this year, showing nice fade, nice step. Ray's strike throwing ability improved also in 2023, up to 65% strike rate, which is well above average, and actually very much improved from the previous season. So that was notable myself when we look and see. I think there might be something here with Dylan Ray. 31% CSW on the year. He is a starter build. He can handle the workload. I am rather excited about Dylan Ray and his potential progress this year because I really believe that he's one that could take that step forward and be a really solid arm. Couple of bats, and I know one of these bats moved out of the system, but these were 2 very similar bats, David De Los Santos and Ivan Melendez. De Los Santos was selected by Cleveland in the Rule 5 draft. He is no longer in Arizona, even though I do believe that he can return there. Why? Because bats that get taken in the Rule 5 rarely stick. It's very tough to stick the roster. You have to be on the active roster. Very often, maybe Cleveland wants to keep him. Let's just keep him on the bench. Tough to do that because it's a bench spot going to waste. We'll see what happens there. I'm pretty interested. But Ivan Melendez, very similar in a way with big power, questionable contact skills. After seeing Melendez again live in the NFL, I just really wonder if he can make it work. The power's undeniable. 70 grade pop, like no question. EVs were off the charts. And velocities as high as 116 last year, 9th percentile, near the top of all minor leaguers. But he had a 64.5% contact rate, which is not good. Anything below 70, not great. Closer to 70, the better. But you get below 65%, we're really not there at all. I mean, he is just a storied player. He's got the nickname, the Hispanic Titanic. I mean, he's always mashed home runs his entire career. 32 home runs in Texas in 2022. Won the Golden Spikes Award, best player in the country. I mean, all the hype and flash is there because when he connects, he's doing serious damage. But he's not making enough contact today. 64.5% will have to improve a ton to be relevant. So I have my question marks about Ivan Melendez, contact, and how that all plays out. But I think that's still to be determined. Maybe he develops it, but I think contact skills are one of the harder skills to develop. A couple of young guys that I'm really excited about. Ruben Santana, 750K bonus guy in 2022. He's hit some. Spent the entire 2022 summer in the DSL and last year at the complex. Posted a 316 average at both stops, combined slash between them of 316, 409, 466. He did tap into a little more power this year, which was notable. He's 18 years old. Hit 4 home runs, which, okay, but that was across 52 games. He had 20 extra base hits. I fully expect some of those doubles to turn into home runs. He's young. He has a strong frame. He has an explosive swing. Data suggests that he's hit all pitch types well. And typically we see these younger players really struggle with breaking balls. And that may be the case as he sees more advanced breaking balls as he moves up. Right now, the data's pretty good. He's actually a decent runner. Does that stick? We'll see. Because I think he can still fill out this frame and be more of a power guy. But 22 stolen bases, only called twice in 95 pro games so far. I still like Santana's ability to develop into a 20-plus home run bat. He does it with good contact and potentially really good OBP. So, Ruben Santana is one that honestly I wasn't high enough on until I was reviewing and writing up the system in November. I called on to Santana. I was like, "Okay, I really like what I see, and the data really looks good underneath the hood." Another young kid, Christopher Torin, second baseman, 18 years old last year. Honestly, not that dissimilar of a mold to Hansel Luis. Smaller, signed in 2022, strong contact skills. He had a really good showing in the DSL 2022, 333, 465, 434, 12 extra base hits. Past year, stateside, played the complex, played single A, and it was mixed bag of results. But in 65 games, he had 4 homers, and he had a slash of 272, 369, 354. Torrin does have really good OBP skills. You watch him, and he has a good eye at the plate. The power hasn't been there right now. I'm not sure how projectable it is. He's like 5'10", 155. So I still have some question marks about the power. Torrin does have good speed. He's going to swipe some bags. He's been very successful stealing bases. And we'll see now in full season ball, ultimately, what that looks like. What does the contact look like against in a full season, a full year of full season ball? Still to be determined, but I still like Christopher Torin a good bit. As I do this arm, Ricardo Young, he is very electric righty, 6'4", 180, got just big stuff. He's got a very low release height. He hides the ball really well. His sinker gets really nice movement on it, especially from that release spot. Like, it's very tough to pick up. Sitting low 90s right now, but I do believe that it's possible to add velocity because look at the frame. 6'4", 180. There ain't no reason he couldn't add 20 pounds of muscle to it and add several ticks to that fastball. Slider is nasty. Firmly a plus pitch, major sweeping action, absolutely devastates hitters with really good horizontal separation between the sinker and the slider. His fast arm still changed up well, even though I still think that that's a lagging pitch, still needs development. You look, it was pretty interesting. He got better as the season went on, but in single A, he had a 4.33 ERA across 81 innings, 105 strikeouts, 34 walks. And then he jumps to high A, and while a smaller sample, 22 2/3, 1.19 ERA. That's really good. And I mentioned, as the season went on, Jan got better. He struck out 51 batters in his last 7 starts, 36 innings. And over those 36 innings, a 1.01 ERA. Really good stuff there. I believe that someone to keep a really close eye on this year. He could really vault up rankings significantly. AJ Pitch is one who impressed me a ton in the Arizona Fall League. I really didn't expect to go into it liking him. Like, I'd obviously seen him on film, hadn't seen him in person, and that was the first time. But when I saw Vukovich, I saw a pretty impressive athlete for his size. Good frame, good athleticism, had a really big arm, and he played a really good center field, actually. He's third baseman, but he was playing center field. Looked really good. He matched 24 homers last year, 48 extra base hits across 115 games in Double A. And that's last of 263, 334, 85. He showed good plate approach, walked, but there was some strikeout issues. So obviously, that's something to be concerned about with the strikeouts. From a power perspective, though, very athletic frame, generates a ton of power pretty easily, has good exit velocities, but he puts the ball on the ground too much, for one. He had a 50% ball rate last year, and the contact rate is 69%, and aggressive approach, swinging 50% pitches. So obviously, there's talent with Vukovich, but the question is, can he lift the ball enough? Can he make enough contact? Close eye on that, but I do think Vukovich is a really good athlete. So I had to watch really closely. This next guy is about as divisive as they come at this point, and one I've got a lot of questions about this offseason. That's Christian Robinson. Obviously, Robinson was a very hyped and touted prospect. He signed for 2.5 million in 2017, which feels like forever ago at this point. He quickly rose to the top of prospect rankings. There were off the field issues, obviously. He couldn't get the work visa, and he didn't play in game for more than 3 years. Pretty substantial considering he hadn't played since 2019, and he comes back this year. While he did come back and show some skills, 14 homers and stole 20 bases in 65 games, the contact was a massive concern. Something that it's always been a concern with Robinson, in my opinion, is can he make enough contact? And when you post a contact rate of 56%, no matter how long it's been since you've played in game, it's concerning. And Robinson's been stateside. Like he's been over here playing in inter squads, backfield games. Like he was just not allowed to play in games where fans attended due to his work situation. So it's not like he was just completely not doing anything baseball related. If so, then okay, sure, understandable. But that contact rate was the worst in all of baseball last year. I'm really concerned about the contact. And while the skills are still good, very athletic, got power, got speed, it doesn't matter. You can't make enough contact. That's ultimately what I see here. And what stands out to me about Christian Robinson is that glaring red contact rate of 56%. So, not all that in on Christian Robinson, but the skills are there. It could be a lot of fun. So, keep an eye on him. The contact improves, then maybe he'll be back in. Blaze Alexander. I think Blaze Alexander is honestly one of the more underrated prospects in the system. Reached AAA in 2022. I thought he would make it to Arizona in 2023, considering the good season he had, but he did miss time due to injury early on in the year. He returned to AAA in mid-June and spent the entire year there. So the exit velocity is solid, 5 mile an hour at 90th, ideal launch angles as well. 89 mile an hour average EV, notable. Contact rate was a concerning thing. 66% overall and 77% in zone is certainly not something that you want to see. But I do think that he's still a little underrated. He's got pop, pretty good athlete. I keep a really close eye on him. Not somebody to add immediately, but maybe he is could pop off a little bit. We shall see. This guy probably lost the most height going to AAA when they had to measure the guys for the ABS system. And he dropped from 5'9" to 5'4" to 5'5". He's almost 5'5". That's already gross. Been the Diamondbacks since 2017. He's slowly climbed up the ranks. He's improved at every level, which is great to see. He walked 80 times last year, struck out 82 times, really low chase rate, 87% in zone contact. Those are both really good numbers. Overall, 79%. Really good contact. The power is the question. Hit a 101 ninth percentile exit velocity. So that in itself is a bit of a question. And you look at height. I don't see many guys that are that short make it to the bigs. And I know that it's not a knock on anybody. It just is what it is. Jose Altuve's of the world are the exceptions, not the rule. I hope that Brooks can be a factor. I think he makes the majors. He's got good OBP skills. He's going to steal bases, got good instinct from the base path. Pretty strong in the outfield as well. So, something to watch there with him. The next guy I love, and I hope that he bounces back in a big way. That's Landon Sims, who was a dominant college reliever for 2 seasons in 2020 and 2021. And then he moved to a starter's role in Mississippi State. He was looking absolutely incredible. But Tommy John surgery ended his season after just 3 starts. But the D-backs liked him enough to where it took him 34th overall still, which speaks a little bit of how they value and love. stuff was certainly there with Landon Sims. So you were last year, he made 13 starts, struggled with balls in command, but he did still miss bats. Fastball was sitting mid-90s with good IVP numbers, mid-80s sweeper, really good pitch as well. And I read some pretty good reports about him this offseason, so I'm curious to watch him pitch and see what happens because if Sims gets back on the right track, and this he's now about a year removed of having been healthy. So if he does bounce back and is healthy this year, I think there could be something here. Landon Sims. He is a very, very fun arm to watch with really, really good stuff at that. So we'll keep a close eye on him, but the stuff's there. I think the fastball, slider, plus changeup still a developing pitch. And worst case, like he's already proved he can be an elite closer in college. I leveraged an opportunity, but I do think they give him a chance to start. I really do. Bryce Jarvis, he struggled a lot in the minors last year. He had a 5.08 ERA between double and triple A. And he moves to the majors. He's really good over 23 thirds innings. There were walk issues. That improved in the majors. I don't know. It's a very interesting profile and one to watch here. Fastball, most used pitch, mid-90s, below average IBB, average horizontal movement. It's not a whiff pitch by any means. 12% whiff rate, not good at all for a fastball, but similar range in the minors too. So both levels that there were those issues. Slider, really good pitch, misses a lot of bats. 38% CSW last year in the minors. That's spectacular. Changeup shows really good depth fade. I think that it's probably his second best pitch to the slider, but it sits in a similar velocity band. You want to see him have 3 velo bands right now. Really only 2. Strike going still the question mark. 60% last year. He did jump in the majors, small sample. But Bryce Jarvis could be one to watch. Talk a little Gian Zapata. He is a very fun name. I know he was the second highest signing bonus in the 2023 international class next to Jeremy Rodriguez, who they traded to New York for the Mets. Zapata got a $950K bonus. He shines DSL, 9 home runs, 254, 364, 522 slash. 18-year-old with a 6'4", 195-pound frame, so a lot of projection. Really good athlete. The length does give him some kind of long levers. Like he's got some long arms. There is some swing and miss. He had 29% strikeout rate in the DSL, which is not good. But he does particularly know how to take a walk. We'll see if that sticks coming stateside, but I'm intrigued by Zapata, I'm being honest. He's above average or better runner, good range in center field. The aggressiveness, obviously, is something that we'll need to see toned down a bit, but the aggressiveness in the field on the base pass were really good. He ran well, he stole bases. I'm pretty intrigued by the power upside here and what Zapata might bring to the table. So keeping a close eye on Gian Zapata. Caden Grice, drafty last year, two-way guy out of Clemson, pitcher, first baseman, big pop, 18 home runs last year at Clemson with 307, 411, 618 slash. He did strike out 27% of the time, walked 11% of the time at Clemson. He's a 6'6" lefty, big exit velocities, big time power, but he hits the ball on the ground far too much. So it's the power. 18 home runs in the last year speaks for itself at Clemson. On the mound, looking at like a low 90s fastball with a decent run, 15 inches horizontally, slider, upper 70s, 12 inches sweeping action, changeup, mid 80s, low spin, good depth, fade, average 13 inches of fade. I thought it played pretty well. Off his fastball, if I had to guess, Grice probably is going to be a hitter long term. He's probably a bullpen arm as a pitcher. We'll see. I like both profiles enough where they can try one or the other, and I'd be okay with it. So keep a close eye on Caden Grice. a local guy who I got to see. A couple other names to hit on real quickly. First one is Grayson Hitt, a left-handed pitcher out of the University of Alabama. He's a fun arm. You look at the success that Alabama's had some guys, but hasn't really panned out. Obviously, several of them have been injured most of their career, but I'm keeping a close eye on Grayson Hitt. He's a low 90s fastball, sitting around 92 last year, 16 inches of IVD, only 3.5 inches of horizontal movement. It's interesting. The slider, pretty good pitch, high spinner, decent sweeping action, about 6 inches. Has really good depth to it. So I like to see that. The curveball, mid 70s pitch, good depth, more sweeping action than the slider. Actually, pretty similar numbers, negative 9.7 IVB, 9.2 inches of horizontal movement on curveball. You don't change up very often, so I'd be curious to see if he looks to develop a changeup when he gets to a cutter, kind of bridge the gap. It was a 87-mile-an-hour cutter with pretty decent shape. So it's not flashy, but I think that he can be like a, I don't know, average arm. He's a starter. Maybe he goes to the pen. I'd be watching him pretty closely, see what his development looks like. A couple of catchers, JJ Orazio is one, and Christian Sturta, both catchers that I keep an eye on here. See what happens. I have Blake Walston still. I feel like he's been around for a while. Justin Martinez is actually a really good bullpen arm, so I'd watch out for Martinez. I think he could make an impact this year in that bullpen. More than talented in that big fastball. Really like what I've seen there. Gilbert Diaz, pitching prospect. He's somebody that's a little older. He is 23 now. Last year's age 22 season. He was really good in Double A. Actually, spent most of the year in High A, but he jumped to Double A. Pretty good. So Gilbert Diaz is a name to know and keep an eye on in this system. A couple of other names real quick. Kevin Sim, third baseman, who they drafted this past year, who I like a decent bit. I don't know. The system has some talent. They've obviously graduated some guys, but there's certainly potential for it to continue to be a good system and to build up to where it's a contender for a long term because they've got the talent at the major league level right now. You've got the prospects that are now. So I like the D-back system a lot, and I do think there's some younger guys that could pop off. I'm thinking like I'm looking at like a Belty Rivera, somebody to watch pretty closely. I like him a decent bit. Could move up some boards. 'Cause I think Landon Sims could pop off and move up. I think JJ D'Orazio is one that can move up. Zapata could be a huge riser in this system. I really hate they got rid of Jeremy Rodriguez because I like Jeremy Rodriguez a lot. Now we get to see him shine in the Mets system. But obviously, that's one that maybe they regret trading him again. It's all worked out. They did add Christian Mena this offseason, who I talked about. So Mena came over to the Dominic Fletcher trade. I talk about him because I do really like Mena a lot. He was somebody that early on just really caught my eye in the season, like really good stuff. The fastball, very start to start, but he was 94 a lot of starts. He had good ride on the fastball. He puts the ball down well with his curveball. Misses a lot of bats. The interesting thing is, you look at Christian Mena, and it was kind of a tale of a couple of parts for him. He was cruising early on the season. I'm watching when he starts in early May. It's a day game. His line drive on the leg, a rocket. Stayed in the game, but his numbers for like the next month and a half were horrific. So I kind of wonder if it affected a little stride, just something was just a hair off. And that happens with pitchers when we see like maybe it was a stride, it was just a little bit off. So it affected everything. Crazy enough, that stuff happens more than you think. So I would keep a close eye on Mena in this system. I actually like him much better out of the White Sox system. and in the D-back system because I think pitching development is better here. So he's a fun one to kinda keep an eye on, who I really like a lot. Zane Russell, when he's a 10th rounder this year, he's a reliever, but he's a nice set on the fastball, big slider, decent changeup. He had some walk issues, but kinda went away in pro ball, which is interesting. So he's one to keep an eye on too. A lot of names in the system that I like, and there's a couple of draft Phil didn't talk about Adrian Del Castillo out of Miami. He was a 3rd round pick, 21, reached AAA last season. He's a catcher. I think he could be a backup catcher. Good OBP skills, decent enough glove. We'll keep a close eye on. So, a lot of names in the D-backs. I think they're gonna continue to improve. Hopefully, they make another run. That was a lot of fun to watch Arizona's run last season. I thoroughly enjoyed that. If you want to answer a question we got in the chat, who do you like better, Mick Abel or Brock Porter? Not really the D-backs, but yeah, I prefer Abel still, even though I think Brock Porter could surpass him. Abel's stuff is there. In command is fine. It's better than most people write it off to be. So I feel like and thoughts on PCA for the Cubs. I mean, PCA's a Gold Glove center fielder. He's got really good speed. He's got underrated power, but questionable contact. So keep an eye on the contact skills. Thank you for asking those questions. Appreciate you watching, and thank you everyone that joined us today. We will see you again tomorrow. We will not have a show on Friday. Tomorrow evening, I am heading to Florida for spring training. May do a couple live things down there. We shall see, but I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a great Wednesday and enjoy the baseball games on today. I'm going to go watch some games myself. Looking forward to the action. You guys have a good one.